Welcome to Blue Collar Startup, the podcast where we dive into real stories of everyday entrepreneurs and trade workers who are turning their blue-collar dreams into reality. Whether you're a student exploring the trades, growing your business, or just love hands-on work, this is the podcast for you. With a nationwide skilled labor shortage, we're here to explore the challenges, triumphs, and lessons learned from those who have built successful businesses from the ground up through integrity, grit, and hard work. From plumbing to carpentry, auto repair to landscaping, we cover it all. Get inspired, gain practical tips, and take the next step in your journey. So grab your tools, roll up your sleeves, and let's get to work.
Welcome, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Nelson from 5 Towers Media. I'm going to introduce Derek because I forgot a microphone, so we're sharing a mic. So also joined...
Fresh off a root canal.
And he's fresh off a root canal, so Derek might be a little quieter than usual. Derek Foster, Daigle Cleaning Systems.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing fantastic, Derek. Thank you. Thank you very much for asking. And I just want to make a side note, everyone, that I'm super fancy today, dressed up all dressed up, nowhere to go because of other meetings that I have around this. We're kind of back to back today. So, but really excited about today's interview. We're joined today by a couple guys from Munter Enterprises, which I didn't know was a stone's throw away from my farm. So, beautiful out here, by the way. I mean, if you don't know Middle Grove at all, it is just an absolutely beautiful town.
You don't know what you're missing.
That's it. It's farms everywhere, fields everywhere, and I drive through here all the time going over to Willow Marsh.
The Tri-City area.
That's right.
Border Corners, Greenfield, and Middle Grove.
That's it.
My father-in-law drives all the way from Petersburg to bring their pets to Milton Manor every time they go on vacation.
Perfect.
So we're very familiar with Milton Manor.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
It's one of our projects from years going on. Yeah.
Okay.
Really? Absolutely.
So Mike and Alex are joining us. Let's have you guys introduce yourselves. Just tell us who you are and what you do at Munter Enterprises. So We'll start with you, Mike.
Hi. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I'm Mike Munter, Vice President at Munter Enterprises. We're a commercial industrial outfit that we do a lot of design build work and been in business here for over 50 years. The outfit was started by our folks. My brother and I co-own and operate the company. And here we are, 50 years later, building things. We do a lot of design build work from manufacturing, production, to restaurants, banks, and all that fun stuff. So it's pretty exciting.
I think I remember. Did you guys do the Wilton YMCA?
We did. We did parts of it. We
Parts
did
of
the tennis edition.
Yeah.
They call it the Skidmore Courts. We redid the old tennis edition in the rec center in the middle.
Yeah.
And we've done some projects over at the West Ave Y, the pavilion and the archery center in the back, and the new locker rooms right before COVID. We've done those. So, we get into a lot of good community projects as well.
Yeah.
So,
Alex, who are you?
So my name's Alex Dominguez. I work at Munter Enterprises. I've been working here for a little over a year now.
Yes.
And loving it every day, learning a lot. Getting a lot of good experience.
I'm sorry, you said how long you been here?
Just over a year. I started
Nice.
in the beginning of February 2024.
Yeah.
Alex, what did you do before?
So I graduated high school in 2023, and then I went to Clemson University for about a semester. I finished my first semester, and
Is that
then
Tigers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big football school.
Yeah. Great spot.
Yeah. And I finished my first semester. I was there for engineering. I was just in general engineering at the time, but I was, leaning towards mechanical engineering. But I wasn't super excited after my first semester. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So I left school, and around that same time, my mom had a mutual friend with Doug Ford. Mm-hmm. So she kind of got connected there. And when I came home from school, I started speaking with Doug and Pam from the coalition, and they set me up with the Munters. And around the same time, actually, my high school cross-country and track coach, his father has a carpentry shop right up the road here, Mr. Zanetti. And he also kind of put me in contact with the Munters right around the same time. So, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I knew it would be a great fit, so we're psyched. And I got to say, it's not an easy engineering school to get into, that Clemson.
No,
So.
any of their programs.
No.
I mean, we're talking a D1 school, so just the athletics program, the scholastic, any of their programs are not easy and not inexpensive either. So, congrats on getting into the school.
Thank you.
So I want to cover a couple things, if that's all right. And
Sure.
I really want to get your perspective on going into the trades as a young person, that versus college and all the things and what life is like for you on a day-to-day basis being in the trades and doing the kind of work that you guys are doing. But, we obviously would be remiss if we danced right past the history of your company and who you are, second generation. Family business is, always just a great thing to talk. At least I think it's a great thing to talk about it. It's having, I think the kind of community and camaraderie that comes along with family businesses and multiple generations into that family business, I think is amazing. So, Mike, let's just start with maybe give us, you mentioned your parents started the business. And did they start it right here on this farm?
No, actually, my father was, he went to school actually for physics. He was a physics major out of Clarkson and master's RPI guy.
Okay.
Went to work for General Electric and started at the Malta rocket and test facility here, and then moved to Burlington to work with their ICBM program and do that, and then ended up back in Schenectady with their sub and big generator.
So he was a rocket scientist?
Rocket scientist.
So he's one of the few people that could be like, I'm a rocket scientist. Like, I'm always like, I'm no rocket scientist. But
right. But he never lost sight of the roots growing up on a farm here, I think. Our immigrant parents working from day one when he was old enough to walk. He was probably working, doing something on the farm here. And that work ethic never left him. And I think as he progressed in GE and doing well and became more management, he started feeling a void. And, came back after successful 8 to 10 years there and kind of approached my mother and said, you know what, I want to go in the construction business, and get back to something physical where I could look over my shoulder at the end of the day and see what I got done. Yeah. And somehow got that, cleared and started this operation in 72. And, fast forward, my brother and I kind of grew up in it as well, but, working for him as a kid, but then through high school and all that stuff in construction was different back then. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of pressure, a lot of different culture in the way things were done,
Yeah.
So, basically my brother and I really had no real aspirations to be like, this is what we want to do for a living. We both went on and got our civil engineering degrees, and after school did our own things for a few years. My brother worked for another commercial outfit and was running projects, estimating, whatnot. And that was about 96. He decided to kind of go, I'm doing the same things that our father was doing. And at the time he was kind of winding things down with just 1 or 2 employees. And my brother was kind of like, well, let me see what we can do. And my father and mother had built such a great reputation, and there was a lot going on in Saratoga at that time. It was really ramping up. And so he jumped in, and then after school, I worked briefly here for the LA group, and then found a job with Air Products and Chemicals as a project engineer, traveling all over, building air separation plants, pipelines, and that stuff. And as a young guy, they kind of burn you out, sending you all over the place, making you work ridiculous hours with no, send this guy to China for 2 weeks, send him out here for a week, and, do this and that. And at the time, John was doing great, getting a lot of jobs and starting to build. And it's like, what do you think about coming back to Saratoga? So I said, after seeing around in the Gulf and Florida and other places, I'm like, Saratoga is really I took it for granted as growing up here and having this at our fingertips
Yeah.
with the Adirondacks and the cities nearby and the culture here. I was like, I can get back to Saratoga, and getting together and being engaged to my wife that was from the area didn't hurt either. So I didn't want to drag her over the planet with her line of work at the time. So I came back in '98 and we incorporated the company and started, continuing to build from there. So it's been a good run. Thankfully, due to our area's super doing great, bringing in people and industry and good companies, and it's a very giving community, very nice place to live, work, and play, I guess. So
Yeah.
we're glad to be part of it. So.
I was just on a podcast yesterday talking to a guy that does a lot of charity work in the area, and we were talking about that I've been all over the country, but I haven't really found a lot of places that has the helpfulness and the community driven ideals that we have around here. It's amazing.
No, not even 30 miles away from here that changes significantly. So
yeah,
it's a neat place.
It is. When you're talking about going and doing the things that you did and your brother did, it made me think about how I've actually recently heard a couple of businesses that do this, that have children that want to come and work into the business, and they don't let them. They make them go out into the world and do other things. Do you feel that you brought back a lot from that experience, from doing all the things that you did that were helpful in the business?
Definitely. And our father always said that. And both of our parents said, this was our choice. This is our path we chose. Don't feel, I'm happy what I did. If it closes when I give it up, fine. So there was no pressure or anything. So they definitely encouraged us to go do our own thing. And now my brother's family and mine both have kids that are graduating from college, and one of them in particular has potentially some interest, but it's like, you got to go work somewhere else for a while first before you really figure it out for yourself, and learn some stuff from other people and what you like and what you don't like, and then we'll talk about it. So that's definitely a good path, because family and family business, there's a lot to learn out there outside of that box. So
that was going to be one of my questions too, with the dynamic with you and your brother and how you work through that. I'm sure it's not all puppies and rainbows all the time.
We get asked that a lot. We're actually very fortunate. We have different roles, significantly different roles in the company. We align with the way we think on a lot of levels, from what the company needs are, and politics, and the way we read people and things. So that helps, but we have different responsibilities, and I gotta say, neither of us are the slackers. There's not one brother that's off playing all the time and doing this and that and that one. I think we're visible on the job sites as much as we can be, even to our employees and things. That's maybe the personal family touch side, but and I think that's what's helped us keep successful. That was ingrained in us from our father. Even was just it's the relationships and being connected and not pulling away from it. So as busy as we get, and John and I used to be the ones in the ditch, hands on, and driving nails, pouring concrete, and going home at night and doing estimates and proposals and chasing the work and things like that. And as we grew, we got sucked into doing the everything but construction to run a company. But we still focus as much as we can to stay connected, certainly with our people and our customers. And I love going out and seeing the details and the work, and going out and the problem solving, because there's always something to go out there and be like, all right, that didn't work on paper, but how are we going to make it work out here? So that's the part that keeps it interesting.
Never a dull moment.
Never.
And what was it when you guys first incorporated? Were you already doing commercial industrial? Were you doing residential at all, or?
No, we've done very little. We've got one custom home that we did for a friend of a friend, and now they've become friends, and we continue to do. We're the only folks they'll let touch their house from here on, but that was 20 something years ago. But we never got into the homes really.
Yeah.
My dad started with some houses right out of the gate, building even some here in the neighborhood, but he quickly rolled right into the commercial side of it too. So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
And Alex, obviously, we want to ask you some questions too. But I just, and I know we don't have a ton of time, but when you're growing the business, what do you think like one of the biggest challenges you saw over the years were?
Well, I guess our growth was pretty organic. It's always, I guess, challenges would lead to me to be like, what's the biggest stress point is time. To try to, your reputation builds, and then we get more and more calls and more opportunities, and then our resources, we're limited by our resources. And like everyone knows, we can't just pick up the phone and say 10 more people, send them over. It's not that simple in any industry, in particular this one, where we have a gap where we're missing some vocational people in the world. So that's been the challenge, to find the right people, and any success I think is best when you surround yourself with good people. So it's just taking time to do that. We have excellent people on board. We're grateful for who we have on our team, and that's been the challenge, to find the right ones that get in the team and get it and represent our family names on everything we do. So, and I think they all respect that, and we appreciate it.
Speaking of limited resources, before we move over to talking to Alex, I just want to take a quick break and thank the people that help us with resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see what I did there, D?
Yeah,
that's nice, right?
Nice roll.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was good, Mike.
Thank you.
Steal the microphone.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Michael's Group, MLB Construction, Peopleese, and Panaccio Construction. Just want to say thanks for the support you guys have given us, and because that allows us to do some things with the show. Also allows us to work with HVCC and BOCES to help their students with tuition, tool costs, things like that. So just real thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate it. I know it's going to be in the outro, but I just always want to make sure we give them a little extra thank you in there, because without them, we really can't do some of the things that we're trying to do. So thanks, everybody. Alex.
Yeah.
So put a little pressure on you, Alex. I think one of the things, obviously, that we're trying to accomplish with this show is to help young people like yourself understand what working in the trades means, and it means things to Derek, and it means things to me, and it means things to Mike, but and it means things to our listeners. But really, we want to hear from you as far as, making a decision to come into the trades. Obviously, you're a smart guy, getting accepted into Clemson.
I appreciate it.
And especially engineering program. So you had a lot of options on the table, I'm sure, right? What made you decide, like, I'm going to go do construction? That's what I'm going to go do. Like,
yeah.
What was that?
So I've always loved working with my hands. Since I was little, Legos were, I loved them. And then as I got a little older, my dad had some carpentry tools in the garage. So me and my buddies would build like wooden bike jumps and that sort of thing, or, put little motors on bikes and things like that. But as throughout high school, I was pretty into engineering. Like, I took a lot of engineering classes, and I liked that. The certain aspects of that where you really can create and use a lot of problem solving skills and things like that, and just design things in mechanical ways. But so when I left school, I was kind of looking for more of the, hands-on side of it. And I had considered doing trades before going to school, but I figured I'd try it out and see how that goes. But so I was looking for something like that, working with my hands. I wasn't exactly sure what that would be, but I did a little job shadowing through Doug Ford, actually, when I came home too. It was great. So yeah, what is construction mean to me? A lot of things, like specifically working with your hands and things like that brings a certain satisfaction at the end of the day, which you really don't get doing anything else. It's like you can step back and say, I played a part in creating this, and I worked as a team with other people to make this happen. And it's a different sort of satisfaction that you get, a humbling satisfaction in a way, you know what I mean? And yeah, this company is great. Everybody's great here. It really does feel like a family and a community. So yeah, that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask, because I know that, like, when I build something and I want to say that I am not very good with my hands. So, like, my wife will, I'm only allowed to build things like out in the barn, right? Like if you want to build a wall or
farm grade.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to do anything that people are going to actually see. But I know that, like, even just framing a wall, putting a wall up, it's just like, it feels good, right? And so like how does it feel for you? Like, whether you're building that engine, that little motor to put on your bike, or if you're, doing something that you're doing now with Munter Enterprises, like, tell me a little bit more about, like, how it feels.
Okay, yeah. It's hard because in a way you can't describe it. It's more of just, like, as you're doing it, a lot of the time it's like you step back and you look at the clock and, wow, it was that, a whole day just went by. But I really do enjoy trying to think how to describe it, though. Like, you spent your time and energy into something, and you can step back and be proud of that in a certain sense. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure how to word that right. Like,
you can touch it, you can feel it, it's substantial. It's not like, like you beat a level on a video game.
Right.
I don't know,
Okay, and then the other side of it too is it's something that means something to someone else. It's something that it brings value to an objective you're trying to complete. You have a whole building, but your job is to frame this certain section, and you can say, well, I've played a role in the bigger operation. That in a sense, it makes you feel valued too, because you brought something to the table and you feel appreciated for that. And then again, collaborating with others and stuff like that, it makes you feel really good at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's well put. I actually hadn't considered that side of things, about the value you're bringing to the people you're doing the job for, and that feeling associated with that as well.
Yeah, that is neat, because most of the people are like, they look at us like, that's amazing. Like, there's a pile of material here, and these guys make it look easy. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, there's a pile of studs and rock, and at the end of the day, it's like all this is framed, or it's like, hey, we poured a little concrete today. The normal person's like, man, I had to do a patio once, and it was crazy. I'm like, yeah, we poured 60 trucks today. They're like, what? 60 concrete trucks, and you just see the team come together, and no matter what the weather is, at times it's like watching a serious game that's like athletic in a sense, the way they don't even, and all the thinking that's going on where you're moving from A to B or just handling a piece of material. Mm-hmm. It's really neat. It's a neat industry to be part of.
Well, I have to imagine, obviously, the problem-solving aspect for a brain like yours, like, that's what engineers do, right? Like, there's a problem, I'm going to engineer a solution, and just that in and of itself, being like, yeah, I solved that problem. And business owners, that's what we do, right? All day long. We solve problems, whether it's for a client or inside our organization. And I know it's outside of, like, the sales side of things, which is one of my favorite. Derek and I talk about that all the time. The problem-solving aspect of being confronted with a situation that you have to be like, well, like you said, it didn't work. It didn't work on paper, but now we got to figure out how to to make it work here. And being able to do that, just, it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you enjoy that part of it?
Yeah, definitely. Troubleshooting, figuring things out when something goes wrong, or you have to, step in somewhere and fix something. Yeah, it's fun because every day is different. It's not boring. It's not repetitive. Like, there's always a different way to look at something or a different solution to something. Like even today we had to move some sheets of liner panels that we put like on the inside of a building, and they're too wide for a doorway, so you have to figure out how to maneuver them. And then there's like a little rolling cart on the side there. We're like, hey, we can just put it on the rolling cart, spin it, put it straight through, and then pick it up on the other side. Yeah. So I don't know, it seems simple, but especially when, like I keep saying it, but like collaborating with others and stuff like that, when other people are relying on you, it kind of makes you step up in a certain way. And then they'll see that and they step up. And now everybody's working together and working, in a better, more efficient way. Yeah.
So, I'm curious, was this your first construction job?
Yes.
Okay, so you came in completely green?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Green.
Yeah. How's that for you as a business owner? Like, do you have a whole process for training? Like, what does that look like?
Well, process, I guess, is putting them with the right people. We're fortunate we have a lot of great people in the field and leaders, and everybody in the field is very open, a lot of experience. And, we get someone like Alex who's, on time, ready to go, interested, asks a lot of questions. Again, that motivates everybody. Like, maybe he's an anomaly. I don't think so. I think
Let's hope not. Let's hope
exactly.
Not, right?
This guy's he's amazing, but that inspires everybody else too, and they want to teach him because he wants to learn. So, he's been through a gamut of everything from pouring concrete to framing walls to being in aerial lifts, putting steel up, to install windows, anything and everything. So expose them to as much as we can. The green individual, the biggest thing we got to look is safety, and you're not used to being on a construction site at all. That's first and foremost, and taking the time to, show them the ropes on that stuff and get the proper training and things like that. But, you've been on a multitude of different crews with different guys with different experience levels, different personalities. So it's all part of the puzzle, and that's the best school there is, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you're getting exposed to a lot of different things, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Skill set's grown.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you enjoy that part of the new skills that you acquire as you go through things?
Yeah, I really do, actually. And, it's funny because after we were probably 3 or 4 months in, I kind of was, you're still pretty green at that point, or I was. And I still, you're learning a lot, stepping into a world where there's, names for everything and, specific things you got to remember and procedures and things like that. But after, about 6 or 7 months, maybe 8 months, I was looking back on things I was doing back then, and wow, I can do it way faster now, or I know how to do it. I don't need someone to explain to me how to do it anymore. So yeah.
Did you ever get sent any runs looking for a donut hole puncher or anything like that?
Something made up.
The board stretcher.
The board stretcher.
Spipper bearings.
Oh, this is only 7 foot. We need to get the board stretcher.
Yeah, we'll get that.
Yeah, there's a lot of bust involved.
Yeah,
and stuff
absolutely.
Like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things on the planet actually is ball busting. So I really enjoy it. So
me too, actually.
It's good fun. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it makes everything
That's
better.
part of every day.
Yeah. And Deanna, I want to hog the microphone. Just slide it over if you want to jump. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate the.
Need some more painkillers.
I know. Poor D. Had a root canal this morning. If we didn't
we're doing all right.
I'm doing all right. Hanging in there. So what do you think or actually, let's ask a fun question. Okay. So I'm sure that you made some mistakes in the beginning. Everyone
Definitely.
makes mistakes, right? And you're still here, so that must mean that Mike and his brother have some grace for people making mistakes. if you're allowed to talk about it, doesn't get anybody in trouble. What do you think the funniest mistake you made in the beginning was?
Funniest mistake, okay. The first thing that comes to mind is, I think it was over the summer. I was down at one of our sites, and I'd run forks before a good amount of times. But we have these certain like rolling dumpsters that kind of you fork it and then you put it over a bigger dumpster, and then you can pull a lever and let it fall, it pivots and drops the garbage in the bigger dumpster. So I'd done it like once before, I think, and it was fine. And I'd used the forks before too, other times. So I felt pretty comfortable. One of our supervisors asked me if I felt comfortable, picking that dumpster up, going and dumping it. So I said yes. And so I grab the dumpster, I bring it over to the large dumpster, I get it up, and for whatever, I pull the lever, like get out of the forks and pull the lever so then it's ready to pivot. And for whatever reason, I got back in the forks and I tilted them down, so the whole dumpster slid off the forks into the big dumpster.
Threw out the little dumpster.
Yeah,
It happens.
and literally, and I was kind of like in my head, like panicking for a second, but then I figured I could just pull them straight down and scoop it out like that. But right after I dropped it, the supervisor came out, and I could tell he was kind of stressed out. But he had just seen me drop the whole dumpster in there. He's like,
Whoops.
I thought you said you could run the forks.
Yeah,
so I was
yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And so we got it out of there pretty quick. So it wasn't a big deal, but funny mistake,
Still pretty
I guess.
funny, yeah. At least you laugh at it later
Yeah.
on. Maybe that day you're a little stressed out about
Yeah.
it, but that's great.
Yeah.
When you have, obviously, bad days, right? What does a bad day look like for you?
Maybe.
And they're probably few and far between, but
Yeah, honestly, it
You
really.
don't have to lie.
No, I'm 100% honesty. They happen, but it's not a lot. I really enjoy almost every single day.
Yeah.
But yeah, they happen. Maybe something went wrong, or I made a mistake that let someone down on something. But besides that, maybe it's just been a long day and it's low energy. Maybe I, forgot to pack my lunch the night before. But generally, it's not like there's always something happening where it's every time this happens, it's a bad day. It happens sometimes.
challenges happen, yeah. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting and commendable, too, by the way, that you say that you're tying letting someone down to being a part of a bad day. I think that speaks volumes about a person, that you're pretty emotionally intelligent about the fact that you're doing something that is letting someone down, and that's important to you that you don't do that. So I just want to bring a little focus to that, because that's good stuff.
Thank you.
Not a lot of people carry that. So what do you think and it's kind of along the same lines, but what do you think the biggest challenge has been for you coming into this industry green, having to learn a lot of new stuff, which I'm sure for you is also exciting, but what do you think the biggest challenge is that you've seen?
The biggest challenge, maybe I'd say in the beginning, it was a lot of like, my skill set was still low, but I wanted to do more in a way, like, but there is kind of a relationship between the amount of skills you have, and then also the amount of responsibility that you prove you. So like, for example, when you first start out, they might be giving you, small tasks, see how you handle that. And if you're capable of doing those things, then they'll give you more and more responsibility over time. And so, yeah, I think my biggest challenge for a lot of the beginning was just being patient of, okay, prove that I can handle certain things. And as time goes on, people will pick up on that and start, giving you more responsibilities, letting the leash a little loose. But still, even right off the bat, they were, putting me in lifts and things like that right off the bat. So it's always been great. Yeah.
Yeah, giving you the opportunity to
Definitely.
to learn and prove yourself.
Right.
It's amazing.
It's been refreshing for our crew, even, and some guys that have been with us over 20 years and things, and you get a young guy like this come in, and is motivated. And first we're like, how are they going to take this guy knowing he was a college kid and all that? But it's almost like to them, like, wow, we got a kid that decided to come do what we do instead of continuing a path in college.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of validates the importance even of their work and the level of their work and what we do, and say, this guy's vouching for that, and he's willing to step in and do this, and it's really, I think, energized our group, whether he realizes it or not. But gave them a say. This is encouraging to see people want to do what we do. It's not that job that you had to do because nobody else would. It's like it's necessary work. It takes skill and dedication and everything else. So
it's a great way to look at it. I got a question for you, Alex. When you are approaching or you're asked to do something you might not be so sure of, how to do it, and this is mostly for the younger listeners, but how do you approach those questions and how do you ask those?
So if it's something where, I'm confident I won't be able to do it right or, do it in an efficient manner or safe or something like that, then, I'm not afraid to ask for maybe clarification or say, just you want to make sure I'm doing this right before you let me loose and go do it, do 100 feet of whatever it is. But also there's also an aspect where you have to kind of take a chance on yourself and say, hey, this might seem a little challenging up front, but I think I got this. I can handle this. And if not, you can, if you get to a point where you're struggling with something, all of our guys are willing to help in, step right in, or give you advice. Hey, do it like this because this might happen, or this will make it way easier, or something like that, or or here, take this tool that I have. You know what I mean? Something like that. A lot of our guys are quick to realize and step in and help you out with something. So yeah,
he's an excellent communicator. And you got to take that assume word out of play.
That's very rare in today's society to find a good communicator.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So do you have any goals, Alex? What do you want to ultimately accomplish?
I'm still kind of getting as much skill and experience as I can, over how many years that takes. One day maybe I'd like to have a company of my own or have some sort of operation of my own, or who knows, take over some other I'm not super set in.
Sounds like he's vying for
I said I in my office. It's not much of an office, but
looks like you got that succession plan figured out.
It is a nice office. No, I'm not, I don't have any set in stone, plans, I guess, but goals, maybe, advance, be a better builder and, teammate, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome.
I know we're getting short on time and we still have to ask the most important question, right? But before we do that, I just, real quick, what's the age range of people on your team?
I'm not allowed to ask that, am I?
I know. Is that
anymore?
I think it's only you're only not allowed to ask if they're women. That you don't ask a woman their age ever. But
that's a rule in life,
yes,
for sure. So, and if you think deduct 20.
That's right. That's right.
What are you, 20
something? Yeah,
so
20.
Up to 67, I think.
Do you have?
Well, unless you count my father, who's going to be 87 in June, and he's still.
Do you have a
runs through time to time, getting dirty and fixing equipment and doing whatever. So
yeah, he was down to SCA earlier today with us.
There you go. So
mixing it up with you guys.
Yeah. So 20 to 87.
Do you have? Would you say you're you have a good crew of younger guys as well coming up, or are you?
Yeah, we've got a good mix. I mean, we're certainly trying to fill in on the younger side because we've even talking to some of our other affiliates that work with people through the industry. They're like, you got a good age range of your crew compared to some of your other adversaries, if you will. So, but we got to fill in. And while we have some of these guys that are up into their 60s and things, we don't want that knowledge to go away without passing it along. That's the biggest thing. You can't teach these skills out of a book or anything like that. They got to do them, and they got to fail, and you got to learn, and you got to practice under somebody that's done it. And so we're anxious to bring, just trying to clone this guy, and get
find more Alexes. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and that's why I wanted to ask too, is just try to help identify to people there's just a lot of opportunity in the trades, whether it's construction or any of the other trades. There's just so much, there's such a big gap that's happening, and people are aging out and retiring, and the workforce is shrinking because of that. And the skill set is disappearing in a lot of ways. Like you were talking about the guy down the road that does the carpentry and makes he mentioned this when he said his name earlier, but Stewart's has this guy do like all the shelves, like laminate. Is that what you're saying? Right?
Yeah, Zanetti's carpentry.
Zanetti millwork.
Yeah. Millwork, okay.
And I was like, I had no idea. I just figured all those things were prefabbed coming out of wherever. But
right out of Middle Grove.
I mean, listen, and I said to Alex before we told him, like, man, I like Stewart's more and more I'm already a fan, but I like them more and more every day. The fact that they use just a local carpenter to do that work for them is amazing.
Well, they do everything themselves too, and that's when they make their food and everything. It's amazing to see inside their operation. They don't just buy this stuff from a big outfit. They do it themselves.
Yeah.
They can be more efficient, better.
That's why I was just telling. So that's why they're the blue collar convenience store.
Yeah.
We redubbed HVCC as the blue collar college, and Stewart's is the blue collar convenience store. So or the blue collar coffee shop.
And the workforce is a good point, because we're striving. I'm actually on the workforce development board for the 3 counties, and our job isn't necessarily, we're more to help the underserved populations and stuff and make sure they realize there's avenues to get work and training and things like that. But everybody else from the Northeast construction trades, Pam and Doug to BOCES, and everybody is starting to really push this, tool belt generation, if you will, and change. And, even our government is trying to say that, they want more, maybe even more vocation options in school, but
bring back shop class, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
They say it, but they got to help fund it, and they got to help fund some teachers and people to help BOCES give good wages to folks that can teach these trades and vocations and things, and build facilities to do it. So that is in the works, we hear, and there's so many organizations and stuff pushing and trying to just open the eyes to parents and students to the different options that are out of there aside from college.
Well, we're going to just keep talking great things about you, Alex, but Clemson's not cheap. So like right now you could be at Clemson, right?
Yeah.
And you could be spending, what's a semester at Clemson go for?
It's like almost 30,000
for one semester.
Yeah, it's all
yeah.
You'd probably be spending $70,000 a year down there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you could be spending $70,000 a year, or you could learn while you earn, coming into an organization like Munter Enterprises and get paid to acquire skills as opposed to pay to acquire skills. And it's mind-boggling to me that people don't consider that path more and more and more. I have nothing against college. I don't think it's for everybody. And I just think that, like with what you're doing, you're in 2 years, instead of having, a couple $100,000 in debt, you're going to be just making money, hopefully a fat bank account, right? So I don't know, it's amazing. I think it's a smart choice on your part. Very self-aware to be able to make that decision too. I'm sure it wasn't an easy one. So
Right.
I know we're getting short. I want to make sure I ask the question. Alex, we're going to ask it of you.
Okay.
So the question is, if you were going to say one thing and one thing only to one of our listeners about why they should consider the trades, what would it be? I know, no pressure, man.
All right. One thing, I just think it really it doesn't really even feel like work most of the time for me. It really feels like, you're hanging out with a bunch of guys, you're doing something, and, you're having fun, but there's a I don't want to say serious tone to it, but a focused, driven, motivated, and but at the same time, it's a fun environment that everyone builds each other up, and really, pretty much every day you come out and you're happy with the work you did, you're happy with the experiences you had with other people, and you keep growing those skills and those relationships over time. And I guess it just makes you more passionate about it the more you fall in love with it, I would say.
Awesome. And I should actually also, we've mentioned Pam and Doug a couple of times, but we should give them one more shout out because they made this episode possible. Doug Ford, Pam Stott over at and I mess up the letters every time, but I'm going to try again. The Northeast Coalition for Trades Workers. No.
I think it's Northeastern Workforce Trade, or Northeast Trade Workforce Coalition.
That sounds more correct.
Now you got me off, but
I'm sorry, Pam and Doug. I am going to write this down for the next episode because every episode we mention these guys, I mess up the letters. But regardless, super grateful for them and the work that they're doing in the community and for making this
Northeast Workforce Trades Coalition.
Thank you.
All right.
That's what. There you go. And also thank you to Catamount Consult. I'm just messing everything up. Catamount Consulting, Scott McKenna, Stacy Spector. Thanks, guys, for all the help you're also giving us. They've been very supportive and helping to get introductions and get people on the show, and really grateful for that and everybody's help. So, and thanks so much, guys, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Mike, if people want to learn more about Munter Enterprises, where can they find you guys?
MunterEnterprises.com. Check us out and look around. You'll see some projects going on, and let's keep on doing it. Appreciate it.
And if you're like Alex, send them a note. They're looking for more young, motivated, intelligent people. So
Go on the website and check it out. And the spot you can drop your name and job opportunities on there. So.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate you. Obviously, the show is for you. Otherwise, just four guys talking in a room, which would be weird, right? So, you can find us, obviously, at our website, bluecollarstartup.io. You can find us on Facebook. I think we're on Instagram. We're on the social medias on those things. And, check us out. Drop us a line. We got some stuff we're working on coming up that we're pretty excited about and getting more excited about as we flesh it out. So stay tuned for that. And enjoy the week, everybody. Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of Blue Collar Startup. A big thank you to our sponsors, 5 Towers Media, Daigle Cleaning Systems, Daigle Fire Solutions, The Michaels Group, MLB Construction, Bonaccio Construction, Peopleese, and Catamount Consulting for making this podcast possible, and thank you for tuning in. If you learned something or felt inspired, connect with us on our website at bluecollarstartup.io or email us at hardhat.bcsu@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your questions and topic ideas. Help us spread the word by sharing the show and following us on social media for updates. Until next time, keep on building, keep on dreaming, and keep hustling like your future depends on it.